Greetings everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. I am very thrilled to discuss the topic Mastering RESTful Web Services in Drupal 10 with you, in associated with ValueBound, your partner in digital excellence. I am delighted to kick off today's webinar by introducing you to ValueBound first. ValueBound is the leading full-service digital agency that stands out in the industry for our specialization in Drupal development and our unique ability to harness the power of cloud infrastructure. ValueBound has also been a constant contributor on Drupal.org and is been listed amongst the top contributor list in the service marketplace listing. So as we say, engineering is in our DNA. So ValueBound builds digital user experience platforms which brings technology and people together. We combine our engineering capabilities with a rich legacy in design and industry expertise to create future-ready digital products. We enable enterprises to drive competitive advantage with a focus of modernization, innovation, user engagement, and speed to market. Also, I would like to mention ValueBound is certified as Great Place to Work. So you can reach out to us anytime by using our website link. Now I would like to introduce you to myself. My name is Urvashi Bora. I am a software development professional at ValueBound, presently working as software development engineer. I hold a bachelor's degree in computer science of engineering and I am pursuing my master's in business administration with IT and HR as my specifications. I am your host. So outline. I would like to introduce you first to the outline, like what we will be learning in our session today. So we will be learning introduction, that means some brief introduction about REST API, APIs, and some details of REST methods. Then we will be covering how to create custom module. Then we will learn how to extend our REST resource, that means implementation of all REST methods. Then we will learn the configuration of REST service in our Drupal website, where we will be configuring and enabling our all the REST resource services. Then we will be trying to get a response of our REST resource via Postman. And it is followed by conclusion at the last. So let's begin the learning. Introduction. As we know, web services allow other applications to communicate with our application. Let's take an example of our Drupal site. The main thing which we do is reading, creating, updating, and deleting the resources. That means we perform CRUD operations on our data or on our resources. So REST is a very common way to make web services work. So if we want our web services to work, then we should follow REST because it is standard for Drupal. There are other methods also like SOAP or XML RPC, but in this session we are going to stick with REST. Then REST uses HTTP methods like get, post, and delete. So RESTful web service module, as you know, it was included in Drupal 8 core, which enables the exposure of entities and resources as lightweight, loosely coupled RESTful web APIs. These APIs facilitate easy data transfer between multiple services using XML or JSON. So now let's come to the topic, what is API? API stands for Application Programming Interface. Like you can see in the figure representation, here two computer program blocks you can see which are trying to communicate with each other using API. So here I can simply say that API is nothing but a collection of definitions and protocols used to create and combine application software. It is a way by which two or more computer programs can communicate with each other. And these web APIs can be accessed from client devices like mobile phones, laptops, we can say, to a web server using hypertext transfer protocol, that is HTTP. Moving further to REST API. So what is REST API? First of all, REST means representational state transfer. State transfer means moving from one state to another state. So I can say RESTful API is an interface which uses two computer systems where that computer systems can exchange their information securely over the internet. So for this secure transfer of information, what they will do, they will use four types of constraints. Constraints in general are said to be set of rules. So constraints will be there, four constraints will be there by which we can achieve a uniform REST interface. So first constraint will be there, identification of resource. Second constraint will be there, manipulation of resource through some representation. Third constraint will be there, self-descriptive messages. And the fourth one will be there, hypermedia as the engine of application state. Hope you understood that. Now moving further to REST API methods. There are mainly four types of methods in REST API. That is get, post, put and delete. So I have also added some sort of description for all the methods there. Like get method is used to retrieve information about the REST API resource. Post method is used to create a REST API resource. Put is used to update a REST API resource. Delete is used to delete a REST API resource or a related component. So here I have also added a figure representation where you can see there are four main operations, that is CRUD operations. So CRUD, create, that means post method, read, get method, update, put method and delete the same. So using this representation, we can also learn like for which CRUD operation, which method is used. Now let's begin with creating a custom module. So for creating a custom module, you will be required a pre-installed Drupal 10 setup. So I have installed Drupal 10 in my system and I have created custom folder inside modules folder. In that custom folder, I will be creating my custom module just to differentiate it with from contrib modules. So I have named my custom module as custom REST resource. So custom REST resource, this name you can give as per your choice. This was just for demo purpose. So after giving the custom module folder, after creating the module folder, your module structure will look like something like this. Once you are done with that, come into our custom module folder and create a info.yml file. So what happens in info.yml file? Info.yml file is used to store the information of our module. Mainly it stores name of module, type of module, description about the module, core version requirement and the package. So as we can see, I have enabled the name as custom REST resource. This name will be enabled in extend tab. When we go to enable our custom module, we will be seeing this name over there. Then our type of module, then description, I have written a short description there. Then the core version requirement I have set to 9.2 and 10. That means the module will be compatible to the versions higher than 9.2 till 10. Then coming further, I have created a module file. In this module file, we will be using all the hook implementations of the module. As of now, we don't have any hook implementations, so we have just kept the file empty. You can also create a routing.yml file if needed. I have created and kept it as empty. Then we will be extending a REST resource. Extending a REST resource means implementing REST methods, that is get method, post method, put method and delete method. So let's implement get method first. So for implementation of get method, we will be required to create a resource. So for creating any resource in our custom module, we will require this kind of folder structure. So for that, we have created a source folder inside our custom module, followed by plugin folder where P is capital. Again, important point, P is capital in plugin name because this is the uppercase naming convention. So for get method, post method, put method and delete method, for all the methods we will be required to create resources. So for extending our REST resource, we will be required to create a resource folder first. And for resource folder, the path is source plugin REST resource. As I have also mentioned it here in the figure representation, and also I have mentioned in the steps. So you need to follow the steps. So plugin P will be capital, rest all will be small letters. Then moving further, in the resource folder, now we will create our first custom REST resource. So this custom REST resource I have created for get method. Here, custom REST resource.php implements get method. So right now I'm extending my get REST resource. So I have created this REST resource, custom REST resource.php. In this method, what I will do first, I will be adding a namespace where custom REST resource indicates my module name. So it is very important to keep it as match case. We have to match the module name here with namespace. Then there will be use statements. I have used resource base and resource response. My class will be extending resource base and I will be getting a response via resource response. Also note that file name and class name will always be similar. Right now my file name is custom rest resource.php. So I need to also keep my file name as custom rest resource. So moving further to class implementation, as you can see, my class name is custom rest resource, which is extending to resource base. Now, for get method, what we have decided is we will be just informing about our system. Like we are just sending you a get request and you should send us a message in return. We are just trying to retrieve a piece of information, a piece of message from the system in return of our get request. So for implementation of that, we will be first required to add a plugin annotation. These plugin annotations are required and are utilized for configuring our endpoints. The plugin implementations should be annotated with REST resource as it is highly easily discoverable. So I can say like REST resource I have added, ID I have added custom REST resource, label I have added with translation, I have added URI path and the canonical. This word canonical will be used for get method, put method and delete method. For post method we use create word. Then this URL you see VB REST. What is this URL actually? This URL will be used to get a response from our resource. Like when I will be hitting this URL, the system should send a message to me. That means this URL will be a trigger point for the resource response. Now let's move on to the get method implementation. So I have included a return response from resource response. I have implemented a get method here where I have added a response which contains a message. Like message, hello, this is a REST service. And it is returned as a return response. So once I will be hitting the URL VB REST, I will be getting this response if the code is correct. So let's move further for configuring REST service. So when we go to configuring REST service, what will happen? We will first require REST UI module. This is a contrib module we need to install. So first download and install the REST UI contrib module. I have added URL and command for that here. And also I have added the module screenshot, which is representing that the module is secured and stable with Drupal 10 release also. So you can install this module using Composer, or you can also download this module and install it manually. So once that is done, and you will come to your extend tab to enable the module. When you will come to enable, it will tell you it requires RESTful web services and serialization module. And both of these modules are included in Drupal core itself. So you just need to enable this module and hit the install button. It will automatically install both of these modules also. Once that is done, you can go to this page, admin config services REST. Here you will find the list of all the REST resources. For example, my custom REST resource was custom REST resource for get method. So as I search for the name, I got my custom REST resource in the list. And now from the list, I can enable my resource. Once I will enable my resource, I will be able to get the response from my resource. So once we go to enable it, we are given some of the settings. So here in the settings, we first get granularity where you have two options. Either you select resource or you select the method. So I have selected resource. I have selected method as get. I have selected JSON and XML as accepted request formats where I will be requesting my data format to be XML or JSON, and I have authentication provider as cookie. And once I will save the configuration and I can see like my module, my REST resource is enabled successfully. In enable list, I can see it differentiated, and then I can also see my path here with the method and the formats. So my REST resource is configured successfully. Now I will be trying to get a response from my resource. The thing was the main important part that if our code is correct, we will be getting a response from our REST resource in return of request. So as I hit the URL, VB REST format JSON, I am getting my message as hello, this is the REST service, which means our code is working properly. The code is successfully executing, and thus I am getting my application header set to application JSON, and thus I am getting the response as hello, this is the REST service. That means our GET implementation was successfully done. So also we will try an alternate way for this. So we will be using Postman for generating the response for get method. So here for implementing the response in Postman, what will be done? We will be requiring permission for anonymous user. So once you enable the permission for your REST resource for anonymous user, you can directly hit this URL in Postman and you need to enable get method there. So now you are able to see my Postman window. So I have selected the method as get. I have added the URL with format JSON and I have just sent it. Once I have sent the request, I got the response as hello, this is a REST GET service. So this was about REST GET method. So here, since I have only added a message response only, you can also implement your own custom logic or custom code here to get any piece of information from your Drupal site. Let's move further. Let's implement post method now. So for post method, we cannot use browser for getting our response. We will be only required to use the postman. So before that, let's implement the post resource. So you can also use custom rest resource.php, which we have already implemented for get method, or you can use another file, another resource you can create in the same location, source plugin rest resource, where we have kept our custom rest resource.php. On the same location, you can create another resource, or you can reuse your own resource. Like in one resource itself, you can write the code for all the methods. So just to explain it on the demo, I have added it as a chunk of another post resource. So I have created another resource, custom rest post resource.php. This indicates my class name will also be custom rest post resource here. So let's begin by adding namespace and use statements here. So I have added namespace as custom REST resource is important in that, which is my module name. You can also see in the representation. Then there are use statements. So in post method, what I have decided is I will be just creating an article node based on my request. So I will be requesting my server. I will be giving it some request like title and body field value I will be giving, and I will ask them to create a file, create a node on the content type article in my Drupal website. So for that, I have used my use statement as Drupal node entity node. And for just extending my class, I have used resource base. For generating the response, I have used resource response. And just to request it, I have used the HTTP Foundation request use statement. Then coming to annotation of plugin. So as we know, REST resource annotation we will use, and also like we will use the ID label, which will be differentiated from our get method. So I have used custom REST post resource with translation and URI path followed by create word. As I already stated, in get method we used canonical. So for post we are using create, and the URL is also different here. Now, moving further, we have class implementations. So since my module file name was custom REST post resource for resource, so I have also added the classes custom REST post resource, which is extending resource base, and I have added the code for post method here. So what the code is doing actually, here the code is validating first. Like as I said, like we are passing request in the post method, and in request I wanted to give title and body of the node just to create the node. So first it will be validating your data. So like I have given some request, it will be getting the content of that request, and it will be storing that content in data variable. If my data variable is empty, that means the user has given an empty content there. They have not given title or body. Then the node will not be created. It will give a resource responses error, empty request body. That means the request, it will consist of some empty data. So it needs some of the information to create a node. And else there is one more condition, that if the JSON data is there and it is like in JSON format, then it will JSON decode it and it will store it in JSON data. Or if the JSON data is null, if the JSON data is null, JSON format data is decoded and it is null, then also it will give the error as invalid JSON. Once these validations are passed, then it will come to node create code. When it will come to node create code, we have to specify which type of node we need to create. So since I wanted to create an article type of node, I have selected type article. Title I have to take from user input from request. So I have done JSON data title and the body as value JSON data body. So while passing the request, we will be required to provide this JSON data parameters also, like title, body. So once I will do that, then only the node will be saved, node will be created, and based on that, the response will be generated. That is article node created successfully. If my node is created properly with JSON data validations, then only the response will be generated. So let's configure our post REST resource now. So for configuring our REST resource, we need to go to the same services REST page and we need to find our REST resource for post and we need to enable it with the same settings. Once we do it, we will see the method is post. We will see our URL path here. We will see format and the authentication cookie. And as I mentioned that post will not work in browser, we will require the postman thing. Then we need to also give the permission for anonymous user. Once we have enabled the permission for anonymous user for our post resource, we can directly get the response in postman. So you can see my postman window here. I have selected the method as post. Once I have selected method post, I have hit the URL VB post with format JSON. Now I need to send the parameters in body. So I have selected body, kept this as raw with JSON format, and I have sent the parameters as for title. I have sent my new article. For body, I have sent this is the content of my article. Now, if my JSON data is validated properly, then only my node will be created. So since I have given my proper parameters, proper value of JSON format, it decoded properly and thus it gave me a response as article node created successfully. That means my creation was successful. Now, just to reassure that the node is created, we moved on to content page of our Drupal website and we can see my new article was created and published for article content type. Thus, we got the response for our post method. Now moving further to put method. Now for implementing put method, again we will be using canonical, not the create. Create only is used for post method. We will be using canonical in annotation for plugin. And in this put method, what we have decided is whatever node we have created in post method or anywhere, like for example, in my Drupal site, there are 10 nodes or 1000 nodes, and I need to update one particular node with one particular ID. So what I have done, I have sent the ID variable as my request variable there, and based on that my ID variable, what it will do, it will update the title of the node. So let's see the implementation. Again, I have created another custom REST put resource where I have seen like custom REST resource also you can see. For get method, we have implemented this. Put method also you can implement at the same place, but I am using another chunk of file, another resource. So I have created custom REST put resource.php. Again, note class name and file name will be similar. So custom REST put resource will be my class name. Now I have added namespace where module name is important. Since we are performing update operation on node, so we will be using use statement of entity node here. So I have added all required use statements and namespace along with the canonical of my plugin annotation. So in canonical, I have added VB put NID. NID is my request variable here. So based on this NID, it will be updating my node. Hope this much is clear to you. Now we will be implementing class for our put REST resource. So our class will be extending resource base where we have param implementation of NID, which indicates node ID. Then we have a request variable, which will be sent along with an ID. Now, this based on this NID, we are loading our node. Once our node is loaded properly with the NID, for example, in browser, I have given node ID as 2. I have given node ID 2, then my system will check for all the node IDs. Wherever it will find the node ID 2, it will load that particular node. Once my node is loaded, so it will check if the node is existing. If node is not there, then it will throw an exception like node not found. If it is found, then what it will do? Again, it will decode the JSON, like whatever content I'm giving. So it will decode the JSON in data variable. Then it will check like whether the title parameter is set in data variable. If it is set, then it will update that particular title to node title. It will set the node title as data title and it will save my node. Once it is saved, I can get the response as article node updated successfully. So once it is done, I can assume that my code is working very fine. So let's come to configuring our put REST resource, where again we need to go to services REST page. We need to enable our service. We need to enable our resource. So I have enabled my put resource here. I can see my path here, VB put in ID, and I can see my method is put. Again, as it is requesting something, then we will require to get the response in Postman. So we will be giving it the permission for anonymous user. Once we have given the permission, we come to our Postman window. We have selected method as put. We have entered the URL with the node ID. So as I stated, I have entered the node ID as 2. So my system will find for node ID 2. So it found the node ID 2 and I have given the title as updated article title and I hit the send button with raw JSON. So if the node ID 2 was there, it updated the title and thus gave me the response as article node updated successfully. So just not to hear, I have not been assured. So I got to reassure on the content page. So I saw my node which we created my new article. It got updated to updated article title and it is published for article content type. The node title is updated. Now last but not the least, let's implement delete method. So for delete method, what happens is we need to create another resource or you can also use the same resource. But also note that the response which is sent in delete method is completely different from all other methods. Like in delete method, we will use modified resource response instead of normal resource response. So here JSON response will also be used. So we will be using canonical in plugin annotation. I have given the path as VB delete and the ID similar to post, put and get. Now moving further to class implementation, I have added custom REST delete resource because the class name and file name will always be the same. So my class is extending to resource base. Then I have added some dependency injection code here, which you can see. Then coming to delete method implementation, you can see I have passed the variable ID. So what it is doing here, like based on this ID variable, it is loading the node from the storage of entity type manager. Like node, it is in short, it is just loading the node based on this ID. And if the node is there, it is deleting that node and giving me a response as deleted. So if my node is deleted, it will give me a response as deleted with 204 status code. So now for configuring our REST resource, we will go to the same page, REST service page, and we will find our resource and enable it. Once we enable it, we can see our URL path along with our method, formats, and authentication. Now, since we need to get the update in Postman, we will be enabling our permission for anonymous user. So since we have enabled our permission, now you can move into Postman. We have selected our method as delete. We have added our URL with the ID which we needed to delete. So I have added 2 and I have selected raw and JSON. And once I hit the send, it showed me deleted. Deleted means the node is properly deleted. It got the node 2 which we updated the title. So it got deleted. So just to confirm, I hit the URL node 2 and it said page not found. That means the requested page could not be found. That means the node is deleted. That assumes that we have successfully done the implementation for get, post, put and delete methods in REST API. So in conclusion, I have web services and REST provide a standardized solution for external applications to interact with our Drupal site. So we have seen all 4 REST method implementations in our webinar. Hope you understood it properly, and that ensures smooth resource operations. These technologies seamlessly integrate with diverse systems, including mobile apps, which needs database access and modifications. And by embracing web services and REST, we can enhance collaborations, data exchange, and extend our Drupal site's functionality. So hope that helps you. And thank you so much for joining this webinar. We were very delighted to have your presence with us. If you would like to have us to assist you further, please do reach out to us in the comment section for any further queries or questions. We would be happy to answer them.